Well, g'day curd nerds. Today we're going to be making Limburger. Well, Limburger comes historically from the Duchy of Limburg, which is now in Belgium, French-speaking Belgium. It is known to be one of the smelliest cheeses around due to the addition of Brevibacterium Linens, which then makes this a washed rind cheese. So you can see here, I haven't quite finished making the cheese. It's in its rectangle mould, which is the traditional shape. And let's check out how we make Limburger.
And for this cheese I used Inglenook's Dairy's unhomogenized milk. It's set to really good curd. So the ingredients for this cheese is 8 litres or 8 quarts of whole cow's milk, quarter of a teaspoon or 1.25 millilitres of Mesophilic starter culture, 1/8 of a teaspoon or 0.75 millilitres of Brevibacterium Linens, half a teaspoon or 2.5 millilitres of calcium chloride diluted in quarter of a cup of non-chlorinated water, and half a teaspoon of single strength rennet diluted in quarter of a cup, which is also 60 millilitres of non-chlorinated water. You'll also need 2 teaspoons of cheese salt and a simple brine solution for washing the cheese during maturation. So once all the cream's stirred in, we turn the heat on and we heat the milk up to 33 degrees Celsius, 91 degrees Fahrenheit. There we go, close enough. So I've turned the heat off here, so we don't need to have any more heat on. The milk will retain its temperature fairly well. So we're going to add the Mesophilic starter culture. I'm just using Mad Millie single-use sachets, and they've got 1/8 of a teaspoon in each one, so I'll have to use 2 sachets here. So here comes the second one. When I managed to get the top off. There we go. Okay, got it all in there. Maybe not. There's some more. Okay, so the next ingredient we're going to add is the Brevibacterium Linens, which is the red mould. It's a ripening mould. Actually, it's not a mould, it's a bacteria. It's a ripening bacteria. Now we're going to allow the starter cultures to rehydrate for 5 minutes. Pop the lid on so there's no dust forming on the top of your milk. So once that's done, 5 minutes is up, then we're going to stir the cultures into the milk. So I'm stirring for about a minute, maybe a minute and a half here, just to make sure that they're all distributed thoroughly, evenly through the milk. Next we're going to add the calcium chloride solution. Notice there's no ripening period for this cheese. So we're going on straight to adding the calcium chloride to add a bit of soluble calcium back into the milk after it was destroyed by pasteurisation. Okay, we're going to add the rennet now. And give that a stir for no more than 1 minute. Nice gentle stirring top to bottom so it distributes it evenly through the milk. Okay. So we're going to cover that, and we're going to allow the milk to set for 30 minutes at 33 degrees Celsius, 91 Fahrenheit. So 30 minutes later, we check for a clean break. And I'll put my knife in and I'll just turn it, and it looks a little bit sloppy to me. I'm not quite happy with that. It doesn't look like the milk's set well enough. So if this happens to you, same thing, just wait for another 10 to 15 minutes. There we go. So the curd should have firmed up in that time. If it hasn't, it's no problems at all to wait another 10 minutes. And that looks really good. That's a lot better than what it was. Something on top there. Let's get rid of that. Now we're going to cut the curds into 1.25 centimetre or half-inch cubes. There we go. There's the horizontal cuts done. Now we're going to do the verticals with my curd knife. So one way first, and then we're going to do it the other way, perpendicular to that. Try and make them as evenly spaced as you can. Well, it's a bit difficult with a knife, but try your best, because the more even the curds are, the better the result of the cheese. There we go. We're going to allow the curds now to stand and heal for 5 minutes. Okay, you'll notice that there's a fair bit of whey on top. So we're going to use the spoon now to lift and move the curds just to check that they're all cut. If they're not, just use the side of the spoon just to cut any large pieces of curd there down to the right size. Now there are a few large bits, so I'm just speeding that up. So I'm going to stir gently now for 10 minutes. So 10 minutes later, a fair bit of the whey has been expelled. And you get some nice decent sized cubes of curd there. So we're going to allow the curds to settle for 5 minutes. Now, not a lot of stirring because this is a fairly moist cheese. So we're just going to drain that through a cheesecloth lined colander. There we go. Get all the rest out with your clean hands. Now, because the curds are fairly moist, we're going to make sure that they're drained. We're going to allow a bit of time for them to drain as much as we can. So we're going to let that drain for 30 minutes. So you notice that it's gone down a little bit there. This is about 10 minutes into it, so I'm just lifting the cloth to make sure there's no pools of whey on the top of the curds, just to ensure maximum drainage there. I did this a couple of times during the draining. Okay, I think that's enough, Gav. Righto. So once the 30 minutes has elapsed for the draining, we're going to fill a brick-shaped mould with curds. Now these rectangle moulds work quite well for this purpose. So just spoon it in evenly. Try and get out as much as you can. There we go. Okay, so to help it form a proper rind, I'm just putting this as a follower on top. I'm not applying any pressure or anything like that, just to help it make a shape. It'll assist when I flip it over later. So this is what I'm calling a follower. I was trying to figure out whether I needed to put any weight on top or not. I chose not to in the end, so we're going to drain the curds for 8 hours. That's 8 hours in total. However, during that time, I thought it was prudent to turn the curds or teas every 2 hours. So after 2 hours, it's consolidated enough that I could take it out of the basket and just turn it over and just gently plonk it back in again, like that. That's not so gently, but it'll do. And then if it doesn't go all the way in properly, just try and massage it, just bang it. There you go, that fixes everything. Okay, so this helps form the rind on the other side because you've turned it over. So just pop that back on top. Okay, so after another 3 hours, so this is 5 hours so far, just going to turn it over again. Pop the follower back on top again. So after another 2 hours, I'm just going to sanitize a ripening box or maturation box, just with a bit of white vinegar there, and then just wipe that out with some paper towel. Stops any mold that may be present in there already. So after the total of 8 hours of draining has elapsed, we're going to remove the cheese from the rectangle mold. And it should have formed a rind all the way around, which it has, which is good. Now it's a fairly moist cheese, so don't be afraid if it kind of collapses a little bit during maturation. Anyway, so we get into the salting part. We're going to sprinkle 1 teaspoon of salt over the top of the cheese. Just get the little gentle rub there. So then we turn the cheese over and we sprinkle salt on what is now the top again. So this is enough salt to salt the cheese properly. So we're going to ripen it now at 13 Celsius or 55 Fahrenheit at 90% relative humidity for 1 week. Now don't forget to turn the cheese daily and remove any moisture out of the box. So this is after 1 week of turning. It has flattened out a little bit. We're going to wash it now, or wash it daily with a simple brine solution and turn it daily as well. So I've got my simple brine solution, which is basically 1 cup of boiled cooled water and 2 teaspoons of salt. Nice photo opportunity there, Gav. Lovely. Nice. These people that take pictures of their food, my goodness. Anyway, so just wiping that over with a clean cloth dipped in the simple brine solution. Just be careful, it may crack in the middle. Just be careful how you handle it. What you're basically doing is you're smearing the Brevibacterium Linens over the top. Now it is turning a slight orange. You really can't see it on camera, but it has. Anyway, pop it back into the ripening box. Don't forget to wash it every day. It's one of the mistakes I have made in the past. So after 10 to 12 days, you're going to get a reddish smear. So turn and wash it twice weekly and age the cheese for at least 1 month. 1 month gives you a very mild flavour. 2 months will give you a very sharp flavour. Okay, let's go back to Gav.
Well, that was Limburger. Now, the washing is the most important part. Now, I did skip 1 or 2 days of washing where I really shouldn't have, because the overall smell of the Limburger when it was in the cheese cave was very on the nose. But what didn't really happen, early on I got some orange smear over the cheese, but I think I overworked it, if that makes sense. You know, I rubbed it too much and a lot of the smear came off with the cloth that I was using. So basically what I need to do now is, I can't do much more to it, it's what it is. What I could do in the future is I could use some Brevibacterium Linens dissolved in the saline solution, the brine solution, and that would then help create the orange smear, only if I had caught it early enough. So look, I'm going to taste it, see what happens. I think it will have the flavours that are intended for Limburger, but we'll see when it comes for the taste test. Anyway, if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and give it a big thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget you can get kits over at littlegreenworkshops.com.au, and if you're not a patron of the channel, please take time to have a look at the patron link down below in the description. Well, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds, and I'll see you next time.